Star Wars Squadrons solo game doesn't prepare you for what you'll find on the multiplayer. It's something like this. Hey now, what is this? What is this stuff? They're running all over the place. Look at this, running wild, Look at this. What is this? Pinballing, boost gasping. I don't get what this goose blasting stuff is. What is this? This is like a game of pinball. Look at them moving around. Look at them moving around all over the place. I don't get this. What is this going on here? Look at them moving around. They got power grip. They can't hit them. He's focusing his shields. What's he doing here? He's cheating. That's what he's doing. He's a cheater. He's a big C cheater. He thinks he knows what he's doing. He thinks that he's good. He's a no skill. He's got no skill. What I'm a no skill, I think I'm a better pilot. I'm a real pilot. That's what I am. I think I know better than anybody. I think I know anything about this. This pinball stuff is nothing I don't want to do. What am I supposed to learn? I guess I gotta learn. What are they doing?
Boom, boom.
Have you guys heard about this whole goose blasting multi-pinning?
Yep. Pinballing and skipping shields and boosts.
Doesn't sound like something an experienced A-wing needs.
Pinballing is just describing evasive movement by understanding the mechanics of the game.
PC cheetah tricks.
Let's have the captain explain.
Boost gasping, boost skipping, zero throttle, shield skipping, and multi-drift. Combining some or all makes pinballing. We'll go over it and explain it all soon here for the briefing.
You guys as excited as me to learn pinballing?
Yeah, right. It's all talk.
A-wings don't need it. We will listen and learn.
I ain't had time to learn this stuff.
You've been flying 1,000 hours.
And I've complained every single hour.
We will listen to what the captain says, then post on Reddit. Boost gasping. Originally discovered by Destracier, but we just wasn't able to be translated to us until Fenkar was able to describe how it was using power management to its fullest. There's a time while drifting that boost doesn't build or decay, so you pull it out of engines, which creates a dead drift, a longer drift, and allows you to charge lasers and shields as needed, then go back into engines, building power instead of losing. Boost skipping. This was discovered by Scout. Rather than holding a boost, you do quick boost drift, boost drift, boost drift, and you will use less boosts and travel further and be able to charge another system while moving across the map. Zero throttle bug. This also was discovered by Fenkar. A bug where, if your throttle is set to a point lower than your actual speed, it will instantly take you from that speed to max speed. Now setting it to 0 allows you to always be under. As well, you'll go from 0, the lowest point, to the maximum speed instantly. The multi-drift. This was brought to us by Fenkar and Ham, who had discovered it, but prior to them, the team Galactic Agriculture had been using it with great success in the Defenders. It allows you to drift without boosting. Only works when you have a separate boost and drift button. Shield skipping. Brought to us by Tiberius Zahn, who showed us it is possibly the most broken of all the mechanics in the game. More so than all listed before. It's part of boost gasping. See, with basic power management, a pip always remains in a system when you move the power out to another system. However, with advanced, you can have 0 pips in a system. So by going back and forth and removing all the power from one system, and then back into shields, out of shields, and then back into shields, you skip the cooldown and start recharging shields instantly. It is not one of these broken mechanics that makes pinballing. It is the using some or all of these techniques. You are pinballing in Star Wars Squadrons. Hey, this is Time Bomb Mature. First time checking out the channel, hit that subscribe button to catch all the updates. Alright, thanks for checking this out. That long intro kind of went over all the different things, and now I'm going to do a little breakdown on everything. So firstly there I got
Gonk here to kind of break down the power management on boost gasping.
There is a short period of time, about 0.5 seconds, where your boost energy cannot decay or gain. So I boost, drift, and I cannot gain or decay any kind of boost energy for about 0.5 or 0.75 seconds, a very short window of time. So what you want to do during those moments when after you start drifting is you want to move your power to another system, to charge the other system. Because there's no point in leaving it in engines if it can't gain or decay, so it may as well charge another system. Most people like to put it into shields, so I'm putting it into shields here. I mean, again, I'm using advanced power management, but this actually works perfectly with basic power. There's no problem there. So again, boost, move your power to something else, drift, and then move it back into engines.
Boost skipping. So basically, we've seen this kind of earlier in the year. Scalp showed how this works. We'll deplete some lasers. So the idea is here, you got full bars of boost right now. Rather than, you know, normally what people would do earlier in the year is they would just press a boost, you just hold it, let that boost go, just live your life in that boost. But what we found out is that it's just not necessary, right? You don't have to do it that way. In the time that it took me to travel that distance, whatever it was, 1,000 units, 1,500 units, 2,000 units, it would be a much better use to just boost what is called boost skipping, which is quick successive boosts. So rather than just holding the boost, you would go like this, and you would cover so much more ground and use so much less boost. And you can charge another system while you do it. So that's the idea behind boost skipping. So you go power in another system, and you can use your boost, and then you would start gasping to build up power again, and you could boost skip again to charge the lasers. I happen to be using a slam engine, so it's kind of passively charging engines as well there. So that's basically the idea with boost skipping, and especially like when you get into trouble doing damage, you maybe lose shields, then you can put it all into shields and just start boost skipping around and moving evasively, kind of a thing to be evasive and charge systems. What awesome flying I'm showing there, and then you can kind of go back into more of a gasping to, you know, fire, build up engines again, just generally be skipping. So that's kind of the idea, is to have one system. I'm going to deplete my lasers again. Again, I'm going to show it, you know, so you do these quick successive boosts while charging another system. So you're moving quick across the map, being evasive, and charging another system. And yeah, so this is a high-level strategy that I would say is one of the two main strategies of pinballing that people are using. So it makes it tough to hit because you're traversing the map and getting away, so you know, creating distance so quickly, as well using that distance and time to charge systems that you may be low in to protect yourself with shields and get ready to use your weapons to do damage. So that is boost skipping. So the zero throttle, as discussed earlier, is just a bug that allows you to get to acceleration quickly. I'm going to go over to Gonk to explain this one again.
Now I'm moving my throttle down to 0. You see, there's my throttle on the left there. You can see it going up and down, up and down. Put it at 0. Because of the mechanics of this game, having your throttle at 0 will cause you to accelerate faster while boosting. And this doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's just how the game is built. So let's try it again. We're at 0 throttle. Boost, drift, boost, drift, boost, drift. And you can see how long your drift lasts. It really lasts for a long time. The whole time where the boost bar is flashing, that's your drifting.
Then that would seem strange. It's like, wait, what? I don't touch my throttle? But yeah, that is the reality of the game. The multi-drift is probably the most misunderstood of all the techniques in the game here. So you see I am multi-drifting around in my Y-Wing. It's not necessary. Most players, honestly, most people who fly the Defender, the X-Wing, and the Y-Wing aren't multi-drifting. Occasionally, I mean, the TIE Bomber, you don't need a multi-drift. You can get a lot. The TIE Fighter, you can get a lot, but you don't really need to either. And the Y-Wing, you can get multi-drifts out of, but again, you don't really need to, right? Like, you have to be really fast with it. I do a little bit to extend it, but if you notice, once I start multi-drifting, my speed's dropping so much that it makes me much easier to hit, actually. The advantage of multi-drift is I get these quick repositions. It's the Y-Wing, so you have to do it very quickly. It's not as noticeable here with it. It just gives me a little bit of time to extended drift and recharge, but also not necessary. You could be using jet engine, which recharges really quickly, and it just minimizes the need to multi-drift at all. Now, when you're talking about the support ship, let's get into the support ship. The support ship is the ship that makes the multi-drift. It needs the multi-drift to basically survive. Without it, it just can't. And that's just basically to do it. I go, just kind of do like a long multi-drift or long drift to just charging your shields. You notice how long these last. They last so long, these drifts, and you can just extend them. See, by hitting the shift key and just extending it as well. And as soon as I go back into it, into engines, just right away, just boost drift. So let's talk about shield skipping. Really, shield skipping, it's not something you have to think about. It's just if you are, you know, constantly moving your power out of engines and all into shields, you're just going to be shield skipping. It's just a byproduct of the game. Just, you know, it's just good power management is going to lead to shield skipping. So you're going to be able to get that recharge rate bypassed. So you'll just be charging shields right away again, despite your fact that there should be cooldown, and it's made some different shields viable that probably shouldn't be, but you know, that is the state of the game, and you know, definitely they would have changed some of these things if they could have, but unfortunately they didn't. Now, this is all these aspects of the game are aspects that I actually really enjoy of the game. So I get it that people don't like them, but I think if you do spend a little bit of time learning and practicing them, you see it actually adds all the things to the game that you want it to. It's the viability of the A-Wing. Nothing's going to make the A-Wing viable.
So we do need to talk about the limitations of pinballing depending on what you're using to play. So if you're on PC, you pretty much have all of these available to you. Multi-drift, the only limitation is if boost and drift are on one button. If boost and drift are on separate buttons, which sometimes with different HOTASes or setups you need to actually use software to rebind. But generally, if you're using keyboard, it's on space and shift, then you have multi-drift available to you. Now, shield skipping is another one that is limited by how you're playing. Shield skipping, because you need to use advanced power management for it. So if you are on basic power, regardless of what you're on, you cannot shield skip. People do say shield skipping isn't viable on console with controller. If you're using a HOTAS on console, which is the T-Flight 4 or the T-Flight 1 for the Xbox, if you're using either of those, then you can shield skip with advanced power, because you simply have to remove all of the power out of shields into engines and then back into shields. Shield skip and bypass the penalty and immediately start recharging. So that's shield skipping. So with basic, you can never get the pips all the way out of engines or shields to be able to shield skip. So you have to use advanced. That's difficult for most people on controller on console to do advanced power management. The only exception being the Flying Chili, who I will do a video with later to show how he does it. So he does shield skip using controller on console because he uses advanced power management. But with the caveat, that's not viable for most people. Pinballing without multi-drift and shield skipping, still very possible. In fact, most people in the X-Wing and Defender don't need to shield skip or multi-drift. A lot of them can get away with just using boost skipping to cover distance and recharge their shields, use long dead drifts to charge up engines, different strategies like that. However, multi-drift does, of course, help. In most ships, we talked about support it being a must. I'm not trying to get away from that. But still, without shield skipping and multi-drift, you can be a very
very evasive pilot to the highest level in the game. There's many pilots, and we're going to go over Nathan's gameplay here, Dalek, and he is on controller with basic power management, and he's going to show how you can be evasive with another factor that is something that's often not talked about: map and field awareness. Knowing your position in relationship to where your enemies are against you cannot be underestimated. That's a huge part of the game. Your position on the field in relation to your opponents, using cover, using distance, using the safety line, the frigates, all of these things to protect yourself and to know when to go in and out, when to recharge your shields, when to power up, when to attack. All of these things are a huge part of pinballing that can't be underscored. It's not, you can't just start multi-drifting around or doing these things and thinking you're just gonna just live because you do it. It's not that. You have to learn these techniques, how to use them. Honestly, someone who's multi-drift, just because someone has multi-drift, they're not more effective than someone who doesn't have multi-drift. We can see with Nathan here in his power management, he's just constantly moving around, aware of the people targeting him, aware of where he is on the field and how to utilize his opponent's position to get to safety. So it shows that a lot of people consider pinballing to be some sort of PC cheat. It is not. Pinballing just describes evasive movement. You need to learn boost gasping, boost skipping, which a part of that is the zero throttle. So being in that zero throttle all the time while boost skipping and boost gasping for all your movement is how the game is played at the highest level. If you want to compete with the people, that's all you have to do. We're going to go over how to do these in the different ships in the next series of videos, talking to some of the best pilots. So thanks a lot for checking this video. I'm Time Bomb. You guys are awesome, and I will catch you later.
Boom, boom.